You've heard of haunted houses. This one went quiet for a reason. In 1978, a family of 4 moved into 321 North Monroe Street in Topeka, Kansas. Within weeks, they fled, left everything behind. What they described, black ooze, levitating furniture, inhuman voices echoing from the basement, was dismissed as hysteria. But decades later, that house is still boarded up, and one priest who entered never spoke of it again. This is not a ghost story. This is a record of the house that didn't want tenants. It wanted a door. On July 2nd, 1978, Daniel and Marjorie Bell signed a 12-month lease for the modest rental property at 321 North Monroe Street. It was a small, 2-story Victorian near downtown Topeka, gabled roof, faded yellow siding, and a porch that creaked even when no one stepped on it. The price was too good. The landlord was distant. He didn't make eye contact, just slid the keys across the table and muttered, "You'll want to keep the basement door shut." Just humidity. Their daughters, Katie and Emily, were 8 and 5. On the day they moved in, the radio lost signal the moment they pulled into the driveway. Inside, the house smelled faintly of burnt sugar and damp wood. Emily said something strange as she entered her bedroom. "Why is there someone in the closet?" There wasn't. Not yet. On the 3rd night, Daniel went down to the basement to check the circuit box. The house had lost power after midnight, even though the neighbor's porch lights still glowed. The stairs creaked under his weight, but never in rhythm. At the bottom, he paused. The air was wrong, too still. The breaker flipped back fine, but as he turned to leave, he noticed it, a long black smear running from the outlet to the far wall. He reached for it, and it moved, pulled inward, like it was breathing. He didn't tell Marjorie, just told her the fuse blew. That night, Katie woke up screaming. The floor was talking, it said my name. Under her bed, oily footprints, too large to be theirs, too deep to be dry. On July 9th, Marjorie was vacuuming when the living room chair moved. Not shifted, lifted, slowly, silently, until it hovered a foot off the floor. Then it fell, with a crash that knocked a picture frame from the wall. When she turned to run, the vacuum cord wrapped around her ankle, tightened. She swore something whispered in her ear. A single word. Stay. Later that night, Daniel tried to record the strange electrical hum with a cassette deck. He played it back. No hum, just static. And underneath, a slow, dragging breath. And a second voice, not whispering, mimicking, repeating everything Daniel had just said, but deeper. Offbeat, wrong, like it was learning to speak. By mid-July 1978, the house had grown colder, but only inside. The Bells would step in from 95-degree Kansas heat and find the living room at 54. Daniel discovered the thermostat had been ripped from the wall overnight. Below the socket, a black substance oozed in slow drips. Sticky, chemical. It smelled of copper and mold. He wiped it clean. The next morning, it returned, but this time, the ooze had formed words. Emily. That same morning, Emily was found sleeping in the hallway, curled beneath a blanket she didn't own. When asked why, she said, "Because the man in the closet said the bed was his now." Daniel tried to laugh, but that night the same black ooze began seeping from the bedroom light switch. Marjorie swears it whispered when she touched it. It said, "You should have left when it smiled." July 18th. Father Anthony Sorrell arrived at the Bells' home after Daniel begged the church for help. The priest carried holy water, a rosary, and a voice recorder. He entered at 10:03 a.m., began the blessing in the living room. At 10:06, the tape recorder captured a voice, not his. "Take off your shoes. You walk on me." At 10:08, Every window in the house slammed shut simultaneously. At 10:10, the crucifix on the wall twisted upside down. Father Sorrel stopped praying. He stepped backward, never taking his eyes off the basement door, which had opened silently, though no one touched it. "This house is occupied," he whispered. He left, never returned. The diocese sealed the report, but the voice recorder still plays. And the voice on it? It speaks in the priest's voice, but says things he never did. On July 22nd, just past midnight, the bells were jolted awake by a low, rhythmic noise. Not music, not machinery, chanting. It came from the basement, a cadence with no words, no breath, just pressure. Daniel crept down the stairs with a flashlight. Halfway down, the light died. He kept going. The chanting stopped the moment he touched the basement floor. In the dark, he saw nothing, but felt something pass behind him. Cold, tall. Upstairs, Katie began sleepwalking. She stood in the hallway, face slack, whispering, "It wants her. Not me. Her." Emily screamed from her room. Something had clawed her blanket, leaving deep rips. No blood, just scorch marks. And that sound again, from every vent in the house. Breathing. July 25th. The black ooze wasn't dripping anymore. It was pulsing. That evening, Marjorie heard scratching behind the dining room wall. Rhythmic, persistent. She pressed her ear to it. Something pressed back. A bulge formed in the sheetrock, growing, straining until it tore. A hand, thin, black. Bone exposed and glistening with that same tar-like fluid. It clawed through and collapsed onto the floor, dragging something else behind it. Too quick to see. When Daniel rushed in, the wall was cracked open, but nothing moved. Just a pile of drywall dust and fingernail shards embedded deep in the wood beneath. Katie refused to eat that night. She said the kitchen smelled like the burnt lady's breath. There had never been a fire in the house, not one that was reported. On July 28th, Marjorie tucked Emily into bed, checked her twice through the night. By morning, her room was empty. No open windows, no prints in the dust, no child. On her pillow was her doll, its eyes melted shut. Daniel tore through the house, opening every cabinet, closet, drawer. In the upstairs bathroom, he found one thing out of place. The medicine cabinet mirror had cracked from the inside. Later that evening, Katie said something strange. She didn't leave. She's hiding. The house folded up and took her in. That night, Daniel slept near the basement door. Around 3 a.m., he woke up to Emily's voice, calling from behind the door. "Daddy, don't open it. He said if you open it, he gets to have your eyes." When he opened the door, only stairs. But one step was wet, and one of Emily's barrettes lay on it, warm to the touch. The final night in the house, Marjorie recorded a prayer into a cassette tape. The Lord's Prayer, whispered shakily in her own voice. She played it back through their cheap kitchen stereo. It started normal. Then her voice distorted, slowed, and answered. A second voice layered beneath hers, repeating each word just a second late. But the voice was Emily's, only deeper, only wrong. When the tape stopped, the stereo emitted one more sound, a dry, ancient whisper. "The house is not mine. I am only the mouth." Daniel smashed the stereo with a crowbar. The final shard of glass landed at his feet. In it, reflected perfectly, was Emily's face. Smiling, her eyes black and weeping. July 30th, 1978. Daniel Bell loaded the station wagon with only what they could carry: clothes, documents, and one photo album. Emily had not reappeared, but the house was changing. Walls warped outward like they were breathing. Light bulbs flickered in rhythms that mimicked heartbeats. On the final night, every mirror in the house cracked outward. As they left, Marjorie turned back once. In the upstairs window, Emily stood, not waving, just smiling, her silhouette slightly wrong, taller. Behind her, the curtain shifted, as if something massive had just pulled away from the glass. They never returned. The house was boarded up by the landlord within 48 hours. No further tenants. The address became unlisted. Years later, Daniel mailed a sealed envelope to the Archdiocese of Kansas City. Inside, a copy of the audio tape and a journal entry, 1 page, written shakily. The house didn't want us. It wanted watchers. It wanted memory. It wanted a name. I didn't say it, but Emily did. It was in the walls, but that wasn't where it started. That was where it ended. At the bottom, a smear of black. Later testing showed no known substance, not organic, not synthetic. The envelope was stored, then lost. But the tape still exists. And in its final few seconds, if you listen closely, you can hear breathing layered under the static. Then a child's voice, laughing, and a whisper, "We kept her." To this day, 321 North Monroe Street remains boarded. Property records list it as inaccessible. No power, no plumbing, no visitors. But neighbors still report strange activity. Flickering lights, low sounds at night, almost like chanting. One child walking home from school claimed she saw a girl in the window. She waved, the child said, but her hand was wrong. It bent the other way. In 2004, a YouTube explorer tried to enter the house. The camera feed cut after 2 minutes. The final frame, a dark room, and from the far corner, eyes glowing faintly, low to the floor like something crawling. The video was taken down within hours, but the uploader never responded again. The account is still active, but its profile picture changed to a child's drawing of a house, smiling. 321 North Monroe Street is still there, still boarded up, still silent. But silence is not safety, because the last person who listened close enough heard something call their name. If this story found its way into your dreams, drop a comment, share the fear, and hit that subscribe button. Because next time, we'll tell you about the motel room where guests never left the mirror behind.